Questions?
Yeah, Doug, there's one thing that I don't see anywhere, and everybody, when they talk about renewables, it's always in the context of electricity. I've got a 5,000 watt photovoltaic system on the roof of my home, and I also have a 75,000 BTU natural gas furnace for my heat. I went through and I did the calculations, and I converted BTUs to watts. I would need 4 times more panels to generate the same amount of energy that my photovoltaic system generates. So the bottom line is, nobody ever talks about heat with renewables. The problem is, 4 times the 4 times more panels I would need like another roof and a half in addition to what I have. And yet my nat gas furnace only takes up 3 square feet. What people don't seem to realize is renewables, when it comes to a heat source, it's totally unfeasible, and yet no one ever talks about it. And that may be a good thing for you to put in there, because that's all it's ever been is electricity, and that's why the antis never want to talk about heat generation, because it's off the charts. It's very, very expensive.
Good point. What I did not show here is wood as a source of energy. But the EPA has clear regulations against wood burning, and so is New York State. So there need to be further study on that, because I see wood as a great source of generating heat.
Doug, I wonder if you could tell us what the people in Long Island think of this Pine Barrens solar facility that they've got. Is there any concern down there that they're covering a lot of land with solar panels and not getting very much for it, or do they love it?
They love it. They are extremely unaware. All they see is the politicians cutting the ribbon, turning the power on, and they say, hooray, wow, the sun generates energy. What has been hidden from them is this aerial photo that we are cutting down, clear cut, 200 acres. Now, most people do not understand, don't have any concept of how much energy is generated. So when the politicians tell them, we generate 37 megawatts, whoa, hitting 45,000 homes, whoa. But
How many homes I forgot?
once you do your calculation, it's only 5 megawatts. It's a toy, but people do not know that. All they hear is the sound bites. It's efficient, it's clean energy. It generates no carbon. It's beautiful, they love it. They want to sacrifice the Pine Barrens for it. It's a love affair. We, unfortunately, we are behind the 8 ball here. We really have to do a better job in educating our people, because right now it's just the lobbyists leading the environmentalists who's doing the teaching.
Doug, one of the things that you mentioned in your presentation was about hydropower, and it's true that in terms of renewable resources, that hydropower is certainly the most dependable because it can run day and night, and it's all depending on the water that's upstream. I've worked on hundreds of hydropower plants, and one of the things that people miss, you showed the picture of the birds catching on fire. What people miss about hydropower plants, and it's very interesting, is that the amount of fish kills that are associated with hydropower plants. And people don't think about it because it's happening underwater and you don't see it. But if you take a typical hydropower series of plants, like take the Mohawk River has lots of them on it, You have fish moving upstream, which they have to go through bypasses, and in Mohawk, they go through the locks, which is pretty good. But when they come back downstream, when these migratory fish come back downstream, you get, even into the most advanced bypass facilities, you still get a 3% fish kill at every power station going back down. So if you're going through 8 or 10 power stations coming back down, you've lost 30, 40% of your fish coming back downstream. And that's just something that's not factored in. And the other thing that's interesting about hydropower stations is that most environmental organizations and state regulatory agencies are doing everything they can at the present time to remove hydropower dams from rivers in order to restore the rivers back to their natural habitat.
Very good point. Totally agree. Just to add that, when we put a dam on the river, we usually try to find the flattest point, where the flattest point narrows downstream. And that usually means huge expanses of wetland being inundated. So not only the fish, it's all the wildlife that depend on the wetland that suddenly would lose their habitat. It's a good point.
Doug, I want to change gears a little bit. Your presentation was really impressive and very eye-opening. But I'd like to change it back a little bit to the politics, because as a fellow Republican running in downstate, we got to hear a lot from Senator Libous about, his sense of where hydrofracking is in Albany and et cetera. We here in upstate, specifically the 7th tier, are obviously very concerned about the politics. And you're in a geography that's typically anti-fracking, both by even fellow Republicans, because they either A, they don't understand it, or B, it's not going to affect them. So why get into a debate that doesn't affect them, thus they avoid the controversy altogether? How are you working in your geography to help us win over more politicians to see it from our position as how it can improve our economy overall?
That is a significant challenge for me. The population is totally uneducated. The only education they get are the sound bites from the environmentalist groups. And the only thing you hear is how well drilling contaminates water, which, by the way, means methane migration. And to the uninitiated, methane migration is totally scary. You're going to poison my water. How can we allow you to do that? That is indeed a challenge on my part. And in fact, for myself, I have to convince my fellow candidates downstate, educate them myself. We are definitely not doing a good job on education. And this is one point I want you guys to bring home with. How can we together educate the public? And this is not just for saving this generation. We need to develop natural resources to save this generation. But more important, the reason I run for state office is that I want to save the next generation and the generation after that. We cannot allow the solar panel lobbyists continue to pollute the earth. It is being polluted to a point, at least in Asia, of almost no return. This is going to be a global economy. Our children will be moving around the world. We want them to have choices. If they want to live in Asia, they should be able to make that choice. But you would not have the choice if we allow them to continue to pollute Asia. It's not going to take too long, because solar panel manufacturing has been in place for less than a decade. and look at the pollution it causes. Give it another decade, say goodbye. And it's almost irreversible.
Doug, I have a question. Great presentation. You could certainly go on in many different tangents off of it. Have you looked into the problems with electricity storage, namely batteries? They are a messy item also. And with electricity, you've got to have a way to store it. It's a use it or lose it or store it. And batteries are about the best way of storing it. They're a mess too.
The batteries use rare earth elements. And actually, Vic,
Batteries use neodymium. It's a magnet used in everything from vacuum cleaners to our cars, to our Priuses. And it's a rare earth metal. He mentioned about how much rare earth metals are being removed, or how much earth you have to remove to get them. Well, the answer to that is you have to remove over 200 tons of a mountaintop to get 1 ton of neodymium. And there's only 2 places in the world you can get it, California and China. And now there's a new place that they just discovered, and God, I don't know why we're in Afghanistan, but that's a new place. Afghanistan now has the rare earth metals we need to make radio and solar.
good point, Vic. Now, you mentioned there are 2 places. One is California, the other one is China. Now, in California, it's called Polycorp. Huge mine. We have the reserve. We can extract the material here. But Polycorp, I just look at the balance sheet. It doesn't seem to be doing too well. Why? Because EPA is on their case. We do not want to mine rare earth elements in this country. It's too dirty. It's too dirty. Let someone else mine it. Put those cancer villages in some other country. We don't want it here. All we want is nice clean batteries, nice clean windmills. Just turn gracefully, and nice and clean here. People are suffering elsewhere. We don't care.